welcome to my 517 Fellow Friday series. Today, I am joined by David Deaton from Mid Michigan Medicare. David is a local Medicare broker who offers consultations and services regarding Medicare and Medicare adjacent coverages and assistance with enrollment. David, thank you so much for joining.
Hey, thanks for having me, Katrina.
So I always like to start out these little video podcasts by just getting to know you a little bit better and maybe sharing a little bit about how you got into this field and what drew you to become a Medicare broker.
Yeah. Oh, wow. What a story. I actually started in insurance back in 2015 after I had been in ministry for like 20 years. I graduated from Great Lakes Christian College over here on the west side of Lansing and spent 20 years just kind of traveling around the state and working with different churches. And always like, the service aspect of, work. I think, I like work that fulfills me and, serves a purpose. And so that's kind of my mindset in doing ministry. But when I stopped doing ministry, I wanted to continue that. So I thought, well, insurance would be a great place to be, right? And I had a full service farm bureau agency down in Battle Creek, and it chewed me up, spit me out, spanked my butt, sent me home. So insurance, it's not for the faint of heart. I like to be liked. And nobody liked my rates there. So I went home, got a job, and I had been working. I had a few different jobs during this interim time. I'd been working for a company as a project manager, and I'd been there for about a year when the pandemic hit. Mm-hmm. My company cut about 60% of their entire company, and I was one of the cuts.
Right.
And I'm a single dad. I've got 3 kids. They live with me full time. And, during that time, I had a chance to reevaluate what I wanted to do with my life. A friend of mine had been encouraging me to get into the Medicare space. And I started learning more and more about it and just found, wow, that it really lines up with who I am. There's a huge service aspect about it. And so, I saved all that stimulus money and all the unemployment money and all my anything that I could get because I knew it was going to take some runway to get this thing off the ground. And thankfully it worked. And I could not be more grateful for the pandemic for that reason.
I love hearing that story because I feel like you can see where you came from doing service and wanting to continue in that and how you were able to look at the Medicare world and see that you could still do that service. I just think that's a really inspiring story. Let's talk a little bit about Medicare. I mean, it's what, 95%? I don't know. It's a big part of what you do. And even being in the profession that I'm in, and, I have plenty of clients that are on Medicare or need to go on Medicare, and I don't know a ton about it. So I'm sure that there are viewers as well that don't know all of the ins and outs. Why don't you start with the basics of eligibility, and then we can just go from there.
Okay. Yeah. So Medicare is a federal health insurance program that is designed for anybody over the age of 65, or people who have certain health issues like kidney disease, or people who have been on Social Security disability for 24 months or more. So it's a federal program. Eligibility. Let's see. Medicare is in 2 parts: Part A and Part B. Part A covers hospital, I think inpatient coverage, and Part B is outpatient coverage. And Part A comes to every American just by virtue of working here for 10 years or 40 quarters and paying into the Medicare system. So it comes to everybody free, you and your spouse. Part B is a little bit different. We still pay into that system, but the Part B coverage costs, it varies each year. But this year, when we're recording this in 2023, the premium for Part B is $164.90 a month.
Okay.
Typically comes right out of people's Social Security.
Mhm. Okay. Now, what about the scenarios where somebody maybe defers Social Security? Can they still get on Medicare?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So what happens when you defer Social Security? Then they bill you on a quarterly
Okay.
basis, and some people don't know that they can actually set up monthly payments for that right on Medicare.gov. So that's
Okay.
something that can help people do.
Okay. And the cost is the same, whether it's coming out of their Social Security or they defer Social Security and they just get billed for it. It doesn't change the cost.
Yes, yep, that's
Okay.
right. Yeah,
All right.
but that quarterly bill can be kind of a shock. It's hundred and
Oh, I
sixty-five
bet.
dollars. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Now, so you said that Medicare A is hospital inpatient, Medicare B is outpatient. So when you say outpatient, are you talking about like going to the doctor for a physical, all of those other non-hospital related medical visits?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, and you got to when you think about that. The reason I say inpatient or outpatient, because Part A covers like when you go to the hospital, they give you a bed and a room, right?
Mhm.
Some people go to the hospital for emergencies, and they're there for
Right.
observation, right? And that is covered under Part B.
Okay. All right.
Mhm.
It's a good distinction. Okay.
Right.
I know there's also C and D.
Mhm.
Something,
So
there's some prescription stuff in there, some supplement. So can you talk about those as well?
yeah, yeah. So original Medicare, the way it was designed is just A and B, right? Part D is prescription drug coverage.
Okay.
Um, it's Uncle Sam requires that we have prescription drug coverage. Well, we don't. You don't actually have to have it. You can defer or not take it at all. But if you don't have it during your time of eligibility, later on when you need it, you will be assessed a late enrollment penalty for all of that time that you didn't have
Once.
it, right? Yeah.
Okay.
So original Medicare does not have prescription drug coverage in it.
Okay.
You get that separately. So Part C is what's known as a Medicare Advantage plan. That is when a private insurance company manages your Medicare for you.
Okay.
They used to call it Medicare replacement because essentially what you're doing is you are giving a private insurance company um, the rights to manage your plan for you. But there's some extra benefits that come along with that as well. Typically, a Part C does include Part D prescription drug coverage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I kind of
And
think of it like A plus B plus D equals C sometimes.
okay.
Yes.
And so if we look at just the C part of it, other than having a private insurance company manage it,
Mhm.
and the fact that ignore the fact that it brings in D, does the C part of it alone give you extra coverage, like on top of the B? Like there's more things that are provided or covered?
Typically, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So these are all the commercials that we hear on TV. They're talking about Medicare Advantage plans typically.
Yep.
By the way, all those guys, they telling half truths. I like to. They're lying. Okay, a half truth is still a lie, but they're bait and switching people to come in and call in to one of these helplines, which are actually call centers, right? So they're advertising for Medicare Advantage plans typically.
Okay.
Um, how that kind of works, and this is a really simplified explanation of it, right? When you pay your Part B premium to Uncle Sam, okay, Uncle Sam turns around and let's say you elect to get coverage through one of the local covered carriers, Priority Health, let's say, right? And so Uncle Sam gives that 164.90 to Priority Health. In exchange, Priority Health is managing all your Medicare, right? Now you have Health has to give you everything that you're entitled to in original Medicare, right? But
Okay.
they kind of spread the costs out a little bit differently.
Okay.
So they also put their profits or some of their profits back into their plans, and so that's where they come up with extra things like zero premium plans, over-the-counter benefits, gym memberships. A lot of them come with dental coverage and vision coverage. So it really is just like the managed care plans that we've all had all of our lives. That's what it is, and it's typically better coverage than most of us have had, and well, at least since the 80s, back when the coverage was awesome.
So the Medicare Advantage, the C coverage is really like supplementing A and B.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And the reason why you would want to supplement A and B, original Medicare has no max out of pocket. There's no limit, right? So how that works, if you go to the hospital, it's a $1,600 copay every time you go. So, well, with some exceptions, like if you go for the same thing twice in a 60-day period, like they don't charge you. So if your leg fell off on January 1st, and you went in, they sewed it back on, right, and then it fell off again on February 1st, then you don't have to pay that copay again. But if your leg fell off on January 1st, and then your spleen fell out, on February 1st, then you'll pay that copay again to infinity, right? So that's how Part A works. Part B is a little bit different. Part B, you have a yearly deductible to meet. This year it's $226. You pay the first $226 for all your doctor visits, right? And then after you meet that deductible, it's 80/20 coverage. So Uncle Sam steps in, pays 80, and you're on the hook for 20. The problem with that is that 20% can get quite pricey. Not a big deal if you're just going to see your primary care doctor.
Yeah.
But if you actually need to go see specialists and you need to get, specialized treatment, physical therapy, those costs can really, really mount up. Some treatments are $10,000 a month. And if you have to pay 20% of that all year, you're going to be hurting pretty bad.
So the B side of it doesn't have a cap either, is what you're saying? There's not a max on the, okay. All right. So the C then, in a scenario like that, does the C help keep those costs down in some way, or does it just provide additional coverage that reduces the 1,600 for the ER or the 20% you have to pay? Is that how it keeps it down?
Yeah. Well, so what the private insurance companies do is they give you copays up to a max out of pocket. Okay. So they give you a safety net, one, and two, they give you copays. So for example, most hospital stays are typically 2 to 3 days is a typical hospital stay, right? So if you just had original Medicare, that's a $1,600 copay.
Yep.
Typically on a Part C Medicare Advantage plan, that's going to be a instead of paying $1,600, you'll pay a daily copay.
Okay.
$350 a day, right? But maybe only up to day 5 or 6. And then if you're there longer than that, you don't pay anymore for that plan. Okay. So if you're there for, 2 days, your bill's only going to be $700. It won't be $1,600, right?
Right.
But if you're there for 5 days, your bill's going to be more like, I think $1,700. So you're paying a little bit more if you're there for a longer stay than the $1,600, right? So the private insurance companies kind of spread their costs out throughout the plan like that. I call it it's kind of pay as you go up to a max out of pocket.
Okay. So if you have the C coverage then, and I'm not trying to beat a dead horse. I honestly want to make sure I understand this.
This is good.
So
people.
Okay. If you have the C coverage, the rules about it kind of override the A and B on their own. So you're no longer at the unlimited. You just go by the C coverage.
Correct.
Out of pocket stuff and copays and everything.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
When you go into your doctor or the hospital, you give them your plan card. You don't give them your red, white, and blue Medicare card. You give them your Blue Cross card or your Priority or your Humana card. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, is there actually coverage beyond that? Do people need to supplement C, or no? Is that not a thing?
People can supplement C with indemnity plans, right? So lots of my clients will get an indemnity plan that will cover.
Oh, you muted yourself. There we go.
Can you?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So they'll get an indemnity plan. Let's say their daily hospital copay is $350 for 5 days, right?
Mhm.
So they can purchase an indemnity plan that'll trigger if they go into the hospital, it'll pay them $350 for those 5 days, as long as they're in there. You can also get an indemnity plan for $500 a day. And that way, if you go to the hospital, you're making money, right?
Right. But you're still having
Um,
to pay for the indemnity plan.
you still have
Yeah.
to pay for the indemnity plan, right? The other indemnity plan that is important for my clients is cancer indemnity.
Okay.
People don't realize, I mean, the hidden costs that can incur during a cancer diagnosis, right? And they say about 1 in 3 Americans gets a cancer diagnosis. So these cancer indemnity plans are a lump sum amount of money, typically, if you get a cancer diagnosis, and it's a first diagnosis plan. So when if you get a cancer diagnosis and say you wanted to go get treatment down at U of M, right? You're probably not going to drive yourself down there. You're going to need a hotel for you and whoever comes with you.
Yep.
There's things that may need to change about the environment of your house, even in that event, right? And so these indemnity plans can really be a game changer for those people, and they're not very expensive. Maybe $25 a month for a $10,000 indemnity for cancer.
Wow. I think
Mhm.
I actually know some people who have some policies, and it was just more that, they had history of cancer in their family, and it was very likely that they could get it, and it made sense to do it because it was
Yeah,
it was relatively cheap. So, okay.
smart move.
Yeah, definitely. Are there other types of insurance beyond the indemnity plans that you also offer to clients?
Yes.
Okay.
So the Part C Medicare Advantage is one way to mitigate the costs of original Medicare.
Okay.
The other way is with a Medicare supplement plan.
Okay.
Okay. A supplement plan rides on top of your original Medicare. So when you go to the doctor with a supplement plan, you go in there with your red, white, and blue original Medicare card and your supplement card. The
Okay.
supplement is designed to cover what original Medicare does not.
Okay.
So your $1,600 copay for the hospital and that 20% on Part B.
Okay.
Mhm.
What's the real difference? I mean,
Yes, good
what's the
question,
difference
right?
between the C and one of those other, are they letters for those
Yes.
ones too?
Uh-huh. Yeah,
Okay.
there's lots of letters.
Oh,
There's a
there's
there's a
there's a
big
whole
alphabet soup,
alphabet.
right? Yes.
Okay.
So some people have very strong opinions about what's better, or not.
Okay.
I always tell people no, there's not a one size fits all when it comes to any of this. However, in a supplement plan, since original Medicare is not network based, okay, you can go to any doctor or hospital in the United States that accepts original Medicare, and they'll also accept your supplement.
Okay.
So what that means is since it's not network based, there are very little pre-authorizations for treatments, and you don't have to have referrals, right? If you wanted to go get treatment at Cleveland Clinic,
Mhm.
you don't need your plan's permission to do that. You walk right
Okay.
in there with your red, white, and blue card and your supplement card, and they can't wait to get you in the door,
Hmm.
mostly because they know they're going to get paid.
Right. Okay.
Now, but we had the insurance that we've had, our network-based insurance that we're used to. We're used to haggling with the insurance companies over, can I
Yep.
get this treatment? Can I get this pre-authorization? Right. And they
Yeah.
make you go through maybe some of their hoops first. Right. So
Yeah.
that is the biggest difference. There's extreme peace of mind when it comes to original Medicare with a supplement,
Okay.
because you know what how much your doctor bills are going to be all year. It's the price of original Medicare plus the price of your supplement.
Right. Okay. So beyond the supplements, the alphabet soup, as I think you put it, um, are there other needs for people, like if dental or vision or those types of things aren't covered, do you offer standalone plans for those?
I sure do. Yes.
Okay.
Yep. I offer standalone dental and vision plans. hospital indemnity plans. I also do a little bit of final expense insurance as well.
Okay.
It's final expense life coverage. I don't do a lot of that. My focus, I am so focused on Medicare and Medicare adjacent, those five things that we talked about. Um, the hospital, or sorry, um, supplement plans,
Mhm.
Medicare Advantage plans, indemnity plans, prescription drug plans. Um, and I can't remember. There was one other. Anyways, those are my focus, and there's enough
Okay.
to know just right in that lane that if I try to take on too much other insurance
Yeah.
type of things, I just get bogged down.
Oh yeah. I
Mhm.
have the same problem. If I don't stay in my lane with estate planning and business planning and doing the probate stuff, I start getting into areas that I don't know what I'm doing and I don't feel confident in being able to talk to people. So
That's
yeah,
right.
I definitely understand that. Okay.
So, so what I like to, I'm not a financial planner, but financial planners like me because I'm not after their, I'm not trying to get any of their annuities. I'm not trying to, do any financial planning for their clients. And when they send their clients to me, their their clients are thankful for them because they sent them to an
Yeah.
expert, right?
Right.
A lot of people in that financial planning space like to have, they dabble in Medicare, but they do that because they can, it's an on ramp, so they can
Right.
get to some of these other things. But working with financial planners, I found that it's a really good relationship with them because they know that I'm not trying to take any of their clients' stuff, and their clients become stickier because they've got an
Right.
expert, right?
Okay. All right. Okay, so the only thing I was going to ask you about, and I don't know how to articulate this with a question. So um I work with a lot of people who end up, or at least their family members end up needing to go into rehab or long-term care or assisted living or something, and then ultimately they're going to end up on Medicaid. And there's
Mhm.
some aspect of Medicare that like it cuts off at a certain period of time, or I feel like 90 days is stuck in my head. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah. So
Okay,
we're talking about short-term care facilities, not
there we
not
go.
long-term care.
Yep, short
Short-term
term. There we go.
convalescent, yep, convalescent care after surgery, things like that. Yes, it's
Okay,
typically 90 days. Mhm.
okay. And so that just means that the original Medicare coverage, or is it any coverage they have, does it just shut off after 90 days?
It doesn't shut off, but the
Okay.
copays become a lot more.
Okay. And because there's not a cap for the year, that can get wildly out of control. Now, if somebody goes into a short-term situation, they're there for a couple of months and Medicare's paying for it. They go home, everything's fine. Does that in any way affect their Medicare coverage for other things that come up later in the year? Or is it just back to normal for copays and everything?
Yes, back to normal,
Okay.
right?
Okay. And
Yeah,
then
so there are some rules regarding like how many days that you can spend in those facilities, and
right.
how many consecutive days out of a facility before it begins to restart again. I don't have
Okay.
that memorized, but yeah.
Okay. All right. And that is helpful because it kind of touches on the last part I was going to ask you about is, do you only get so many of those 90-day spans in a year? Or it sounds like maybe you have to be out for a while before it kicks back in or something. Um, okay, interesting. All right. Is there anything else you want to share today?
You know, I no, not really.
Okay.
Yeah. I was happy for the opportunity to come on and help educate people about Medicare.
Yeah.
The main thing, I think the main thing that I like people to know is that Medicare can be so confusing. There's so much messaging out there, and a lot of it is not really truthful. And Medicare beneficiaries are up to their eyeballs in phone calls and mail and everything like that, and they get so fatigued by all of that stuff,
Yeah.
and it's hard for them to trust because they've called into these phone lines, right? And when they do that, they get 27 phone calls for the next hour, right?
Yeah.
So they don't even want to pick up the phone anymore. What I want Medicare beneficiaries, especially in the Lansing and surrounding areas, to know is that there is a face-to-face person that they can talk to about all this. Doesn't cost them anything to talk to me, and I'm happy. If I could educate every person in the greater Lansing area about this, and everybody just were able to ignore those phone calls, we'd start to change the world, because those
Yeah.
phone calls would stop.
Yep. I love that. Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. And I will share all of your contact information in the caption for the video. And then if you're watching today and you're looking for information on Medicare, or you need assistance with enrollment, you should definitely call David. And then if you're interested in being featured on my Follow Friday series, you can send me an email at Katrina@cornerstonelegalpllc.com. Thanks for watching.